try this on for size, came from a pretty well placed source. The whole Carrie Simon sisterhood ganging up thing is a feint. A distraction from the reality that Dominic Cummings and Lee Kane quit number 10 because they are furious with the Brexit deal which has already been agreed. Lee Kane is a hardline no compromise Brexiteer, and we already know we probably wouldn't even be having this conversation if Cummings hadn't masterminded the Brexit vote leave campaign. The pair have always maintained an absolutist no sellout position on the twin Brexit hurdles of fishing and Northern Ireland. As well they might, as that position is broadly in line with the 17 million Brits who voted for Brexit in 2016. But if my sources are in the ballpark, we need to prepare ourselves for two big announcements before the end of next week. First, on fishing, forget a 200-mile all-British exclusion zone and instead get comfortable with Dutch, Spanish and Lithuanian super trawlers in our waters for a transition period. Of course the transition period will be bookended with a cast iron cut-off date. But anyone who has paid even the scantest regard to the last almost 5 years of Brexit negotiations will know Brexit cut-off dates aren't worth the paper they aren't written on. The transition period could go on for decades. Then there's the political clusterfluff that is the Irish border. To be honest, my sources didn't have a Scooby on that one, and the reason seems to be that no one does. It's such a mess, such an intractable, that even compromise is impossible. You need a border and you need border checks. End of story. Of course a technological solution is entirely achievable, but certain factions in the Brexit hating civil service have dragged their heels so extraordinarily on this that neither the tech nor the political will to introduce it can possibly be ready in time. A government which truly wanted Brexit done from the outset, and here Mrs. May needs to take a long hard look, could have had a system designed and built and good to go by now. While using the intervening years to gently persuade the people on both sides of the border the system was harmless and would massively boost both economic activity and freedom of movement. The harder to convince could, as ever, have been won over with political sweeteners, cash basically, and there need be no dusting off of the Armalites in the way voices in the EU and indeed the next president of the USA, Joe Biden, have not so obliquely referred to, with rather too much relish if you ask me. I've said before that peace across the Irish Sea does not hang by such a gossamer thread. There have been 2 new generations since the Good Friday Agreement. These young, empowered, positive people are not weighed down with the hatreds of their forefathers. Yes, there are areas on both sides of the border where there is not a great deal of love lost for the crown, but only the criminally insane want to return to the carnage of the last 3 decades of the 20th century. So, this second announcement will be interesting. Today Nigel Farage, a seasoned observer of all things Brexit for obvious reasons, tweeted the exit of Boris Johnson's top aide Dominic Cummings from Downing Street means a Brexit sellout is looming. Brexit Party leader Mr. Farage admitted he had never liked the Prime Minister's outgoing chief advisor, but admitted that he was nonetheless concerned about the consequences of his departure. He said, "It is well documented that I have never liked Dominic Cummings, but he has backed Brexit. Seeing him leave number 10 carrying a cardboard box tells me a Brexit sellout is close." Across the channel, senior MEP Philippe Lamberts also claimed it was probably the sign that Johnson has begun his U-turn and will in the end accept EU conditions, but number 10 flatly denied there was any change in approach. A spokesman for the Prime Minister, "Hasn't he got any left?" said, "Absolutely not. That is simply false. The government's position in relation to the future trade agreement negotiations is unchanged. But to be honest, with Brexit, COVID-19 stats, test and trace, Barnard Castle, and Carrie Simons to name but a few, anyone takes anything coming out of number 10 at face value right now must have a screw loose.